Welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian, and I'm streaming to you from beautiful Budapest. I hope everybody had a good week and is looking forward to a nice, relaxing weekend. In this class, everyone, we are looking at the listening section of the exam, focusing on part 3 and 4, success. This is continuing from yesterday's lesson, of course, where we covered parts 1 and 2. Hi, Kyber. Hi, Pachu. Nice to see our regular students, Hikmatillo, in the class. And it's great to see our members, of course, as well. Hi, Ferdovs. Hi, Elena. Hi, Madhu. Nice to see you joining in. Students, this class is brought to you and presented by aehelp.com for academic IELTS. Check us out there. You will find 6 original practice tests, over 100 hours of HD video lessons, and a fully interactive course with an application for your mobile devices as well. For general IELTS, check us out at gieltshelp.com. I'll quickly show you these websites while we wait for a few more students to join up. This is the academic one here at aehelp.com. You can click that big red button to join the premium package. And you can enter code R4TYJ at checkout to get a 20% discount from that premium package. For the general version, students, visit this site here, gieltshelp.com, with the green background, and click that red button there. Yes, Hikmatillo, we just released a new speaking video as well with a gentleman from England who sits as the candidate. Believe it or not, students, even native speakers will take the IELTS exam for various reasons. Sometimes they're required to have it for immigration purposes if they don't have grade 12 English or equivalent and they're above the age of 16. Also, many schools and even universities sometimes now will ask teachers, native English speaking people as well, to take the IELTS exam and get a band score of 8.5 or 9 in order to get a teaching position, especially for English as second language or English classes. So that is common these days. All right, because again, remember students that the IELTS isn't just testing English, it's also testing communication skills, right? So keep that in mind. Okay, students, if you have questions, you can send me an email, adrian@aehelp.com. You can also get our exams in paperback or digital version from Amazon. Search for AE Helps Academic IELTS, GE Helps General IELTS. And for those students who have access to our websites, make sure you also download our apps, Academic IELTS Help and General IELTS Help, and link them to the appropriate websites for a really connected, well-rounded learning experience. Okay, so you're learning from the same account. All right, students, today, again, right now, we will look at listening parts 3 and 4. We're going to use our test number 2 or 3, I believe. I'll see that in a minute. And then tomorrow, members, we will have a question and answer session for you. Harpreet, thanks for your super chat donation. That is super cool. Thanks, Harpreet. I appreciate that. I haven't seen a super chat donation in a long, long time. I don't do shout outs for it, but I definitely appreciate it. And then tomorrow, after the question and answer session with members, we'll do a speaking part 3 where everybody can join. Okay. Madhu, for the Amazon books that we have, there are 3 exams in each book. So there's 3 exams in book 1 and another 3 exams in book 2. Okay. And it's different for the academic and the general, Madhu. So there are 2 for academic, 2 for general. All right, students, let's get going with the listening. So this is a listening class, and we're going to warm up our brain to listen to English. So we'll get right into it. Get your paper and your pencil ready. Students, please put your answers into a separate document or on a separate piece of paper, not in the chat, because you will confuse your fellow students. So don't write the answers in the chat, especially if you're giving a wrong answer. It can be very confusing. At the end, we'll go through it together, okay? So here is our listening section 3. Now, of course, section 3 is more challenging than section 1 and 2. And yesterday when we had the instruction time, we realized that section 3 here is something to do with money. There's income, there's taxes again. So something about taxes and money. So we're going to jump over to our website here. I'm just going to log in at the top into my student account. And once I'm in my student account, I want to go to my audio CDs. Of course, it's all digital. And then in the book, it tells you where to find the track. So CD3, track 3, because it's the third test. And so I'm going to go there to CD3, track 3, and start this listening. I'm using my microphone and a Bose speaker. They're both good quality, but if it's quiet for you, make sure to use a headset or turn up the volume on your end. The screen will be darker a little bit here as we get to the questions. So here we go. Students, ready, set, and listen and answer.
Now turn to section 3. Take some time to look at questions 21 to 26. Listening section 3. You will hear a public forum discussion between the moderator and 2 contributors, Dr. Philip McPhee and Dr. Ron Tatum, both political scientists at the local university, talking about the nature of taxes in society. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 26.
First of all, I would like to thank Dr. McPhee and Dr. Tatum for taking time out of their busy lives to spend this evening with us.
Thank you for having us.
Dr. McPhee, could you give us a little bit of the history of taxation?
Certainly. Taxes have been around almost as long as civilization itself. There are records of taxes being collected by Egyptian pharaohs approximately 5,000 years ago. It was customary to give 20% of your production to the pharaoh, and those who evaded taxes were severely punished.
Dr. Tatum, what are the reasons for taxes?
Well, there are essentially 3 major reasons for taxes. The first and most obvious reason is revenue. Governments need money, and taxes fulfill this need. The government then spends this tax revenue on investments that are good for society, such as healthcare, schools and roads. Funding the army would fall under this category as well. The second reason for taxation is for the redistribution of wealth. In simpler terms, this means taking money from the rich and giving it to the poor. Many societies do this out of a belief that it is the responsibility of the government to look after the poor people in society. I'll let Dr. McPhee talk about the final reason for taxation, called repricing.
Thank you, Dr. Tatum. Yes, the third main reason for taxation is called repricing, and by this we mean changing the price of a product to a different, generally higher price. This may sound quite strange, but if you bear with me, you'll see that it makes perfect sense. In general, products are allowed to be priced in a free market. That is to say, whoever can provide goods for the lowest price is the most successful. However, there are certain types of goods that we don't allow to go to the free market. In many countries, these are goods like tobacco and alcohol. These goods are subject to a repricing tax, which is used to discourage people from using the product. Also, these repricing taxes help offset the future medical costs associated with the people who use tobacco and alcohol excessively.
You now have some time to look at questions 27 to 30. Now listen to the rest of the discussion and answer questions 27 to 30.
Very well. Do you favour higher or lower taxes?
I am a strong proponent of higher taxes. The reason for this is simply that it is easier to make money when you already have money. This gives a massive advantage to those people who may have inherited money or come from rich families, because money is so much easier to gain for these people if used wisely. Taxing them seems only fair and for the greater good. This compensates the poorer sections of society who really have little or no hope to gain financial success.
I understand Dr. Tatham's position, but one has to be wary of the fact that if taxes are too high for businesses, then those businesses will leave the country in favour of countries with lower taxes. Of course, it would be nice if we could legislate a worldwide tax structure, but this is simply not attainable. And I'm sure by the time it becomes attainable, companies will likely have opportunities to leave for another planet with more favourable tax structure.
Yes, you're right, Dr. McPhee. We must always be mindful of staying competitive. It is like a tightrope we must walk between compensating those less fortunate and being able to stay competitive in the market. Because if we fail to be competitive, then tax revenue will dry up, resulting in no money at all for the lower economic classes. So this is an extremely difficult balancing act.
Which leads to my next question. What is the future of taxation?
I believe you will see higher taxes in 50 years than there are today, just as we have higher taxes today than 50 years ago. We will need even more money for projects like high-speed transit, new roads, new technologies. Also, with an ageing population, medical costs could soar in the near future, resulting in higher taxes to support this healthcare system.
I think the future will be a lot like the present, walking the tightrope as Dr. Tatham mentioned. Where that takes us, I'm not sure. If I had to guess, I'd say higher taxes for the reasons Dr. Tatham outlined. However, another important variable to consider is whether free markets can really be allowed.
That is the end of section 3. You will now have half a minute to check your answers.
Okay, students, and always use that half minute to check your answers. We'll answer these questions together and we'll talk about them a little bit so that you can learn the right strategies and how to improve your listening and your band score. So let's go back to the beginning here and answer this question 21. If an Egyptian's income was 10,000, how much would be given to the pharaoh? Okay. So how much of this money would be given to the pharaoh if it was 10,000? Now here it's no more than 2 words and or a number, so it can be just one. How much is given? So Ildar and Hikmatillo, Charlie, all agree that it's 2,000. Madhu and Anshal say it's 20%. But the correct answer here is 2,000. Okay. You have this number here, and it's how much, not what percent. Okay. So how much? 2,000 is the correct answer. Using the numbers the best. This type of question is called an inferred question. And the way that you can see that this is an inferred question is the if statement. Okay. So whenever you see a conditional like this, if, okay, or provided that or given that, there's a good chance that you're going to be looking at what's called an inferred question, where you have to listen to the information that's being given and then use that to figure out the correct answer, okay? So be really careful with these, what's called inferred question types in the listening. All right, so that's my first tip of the day, is recognize and pay careful attention. So tip 1, recognize and pay careful attention to what's called inferred question types. Okay, this is one of the question types in the listening. And you can recognize these often by noticing the conditional question, the if. So if something something, and then the question keeps going, that usually means that it's inferred. These questions, fix that. So these questions require you to listen to a bit of information, and using that information, figure out the answer. Okay, so that's the case here. In the audio, we heard that people were required to give 20% of their revenue to the Pharaoh. Hey, that's a pretty good tax structure. I'm Canadian. We pay much more than 20% in most cases. So even though some of you might think Egypt was a bit harsh with 20%, as a Canadian, I think they were quite nice. We pay 40% or more in Canada oftentimes for income tax. So 2,000. But we have great social services in Canada. Okay, 22. The first reason mentioned for taxes is, so what is the first reason for taxes? And here, logic can help you, even if you missed it. What is the most logical reason why people pay taxes to the government? If you should be able to answer that, okay? And make sure you spell correctly. Tito, careful with spelling, okay? It's revenue, all right? Revenue. Revenue's okay. Another way you could have put it here is income, all right? More accurate is revenue, but I think they would take income as well, okay? So revenue, yeah, to make money. The government has to make money to sustain itself and to provide services to the public, like building roads, right? So using logic, okay? Again, this is a little bit of a review or reminder from yesterday. So this will be my second tip, and it's kind of a repeat from yesterday, but it's a very important repeat. So tip 2, never panic if you miss a question, because you can always rely on logic to help you figure it out. For example, what is the most logical reason for taxes? Equals government revenue. Okay, makes sense. All right, keep that in mind. So what's the second reason? Okay, what's the second reason for taxes? So we have revenue, and then the second reason, and even the second reason, you might be able to figure it out. The vocabulary is a little bit trickier, but conceptually it's quite clear, right? So Rajveer, nice to see you in class. Madhu and Charlie all agree, Saminder as well, the distribution or the redistribution. Saminder, it's not wealth distribution, it's redistribution. Okay, redistribution. So redistribution. Yeah. So taking money from the rich and giving it to the poor. This here is basically a definition of this concept. So redistribution, to again give it out and give it to many others, right? So redistribution, sure. Okay, good. Great job. So revenue, redistribution, and what was the third? What was the third reason for distribution would be wrong, Derek. Yeah, it has to be redistribution. Because the government is not just distributing money, they're redistributing money. That money has to come from somewhere. Okay? So, what is the third? Yeah, Elena, very good. It's repricing, okay? So to change the price of certain products. Absolutely. And for this one, we had a little bit of a flow chart completion. So you have a product, okay? And pay really careful attention to the given information in the charts. That will really help you figure out the missing information. So let's go for 24. 24 is some kind of product which is allowed to go to the free market. Is it revenue? Is it alcohol? Is it redistribution, repricing, general goods, or production? What's the correct answer? Madhu says it's E, and Madhu in the exam used capital letters, okay? Hikmatillo says it's repricing. It's E, okay? So here, the answer is general goods. Okay, so fruits, vegetables, electronic equipment, most of it electronic equipment, it is general goods, and these are allowed to go to the free market. So open competition, okay? Now, if this is general goods, what do you think is 25? So 25 is subject to some kind of a tax. And what would be 25? Revenue, alcohol, redistribution, pricing, general goods, or production? Rajveer, I believe, says that should be B. Karan Singh says B as well. Yeah, so alcohol. Okay. In Canada, we have a very high redistribution tax on cigarettes and alcohol. What type of tax is this? We had this answer. Elena gave it to us. It's repricing, right? So repricing tax. Again, this is product. So what is the product? Product is general goods. What is the product? It's alcohol. So pay attention to the given information. Allowed to go to the free market, this has to be a noun, okay, based on this information. So make sure to use the information that's provided, okay? A lot of students tend to ignore the given information and they're really just focusing on these blanks. Don't do that, okay? So that's my tip 3 for you today. Is for flowchart and diagram completion questions in listening, pay very careful attention to the given information, okay? And again, combine it with logic, okay? You should be able to clearly read through the chart once you have completed it. Do this during the 10 minutes to transfer your answers to the answer sheet at the end of the listening section. Okay, so what I mean by that is when all of the listening section is finished, then see if you can read through it, right? So the product is general goods, which are allowed to go to the free market. Or the product is alcohol, which is subject to a repricing tax. It should all make sense. Okay, did that make sense to you the way I read that? So one more time. The product is general goods, which are allowed to go to the free market, or it's alcohol, which is subject to a repricing tax. It should be legible. You should be able to clearly read it. It should make sense. Okay? All right. So, don't just look at the pieces, look at the whole. All right? Okay. 27 to 29. So this was one of those multiple choice questions. Hopefully you remember the strategies that I taught you yesterday for these multiple choice questions. It's a good idea to write down some of the answers while you're listening, because it can be tricky to try to read and catch it in real time. So hopefully you wrote some of your answers down for 27, 28, and 29. which three of the following are arguments given in favor of lower taxes? So less taxes, okay? And favor meaning the positives. So the advantages of low taxes, okay? A, it is easier to make money when you are already rich. That doesn't make sense for advantages of lower taxes, I don't think. So I don't think it's going to be that one. Okay. Is it B, businesses will leave the country if they're taxed too harshly? Some of you seem to agree. Hikmatillo agrees, right? We hear that. So businesses leave the country. Yeah, so B is good. You might have even wrote down for another planet in the future, a planet with lower taxes. Intergalactic tax structure. That's kind of a funny concept. Okay, and then inheriting money requires no hard work. We didn't hear anything about inheriting money, so that's a definite no. Okay, this is a definite no, logically. A country must be able to stay competitive in the global market. And again, using information from your own knowledge from the real world can help you. As many of you know, there are a lot of big companies like Google and Amazon that go to Ireland because Ireland has a low tax structure that's very favorable for companies. So D seems like the right answer as well. Okay, and I can see that many of you wrote that, which is great. Okay, and then E, a worldwide tax structure can be implemented. That would work. That would be really nice. Okay, a worldwide tax structure, but I don't think people are going to buy into that. It would create eventually a better society, but humans are not able to agree to such a concept, so they won't do it. Lower taxes, in the end, benefit everyone, including the poor. Okay, that seems like it's dealing with the advantages of lower taxes. So the correct answers are B, D, and F. The order does not matter, okay? So as long as you have these three somewhere in spaces 27, 28, 29, you're going to pick up all three of those. Yeah, Violet, any order is okay for this one. So yes, Violet, it's okay. Prajakta, yes, a lot of students ask that. You can write capital letters in the listening and reading. Absolutely. Okay. All right. So again, if you missed yesterday's class, check it out on the YouTube channel. I discussed a couple of different strategies for these types of what I call multiple choice questions. Okay. All right. Let's go to number 30. Multiple choice. You really had to listen to this concept of future. Here you're listening, of course, for the participle will as well. So any word that refers to the future. What do the speakers believe about taxes in the future? Here's a good question. What do you believe about taxes in the future? What do you think will happen to taxes in the future? The IELTS is logical. So they're not going to give you false information unnecessarily. Absolutely not. Okay. What do you think? So what will happen to taxes in the future? What's happening with taxes today? Can anybody tell me rather than just giving me the letter C? Hey, thank you, Pachu. Pachu says, I think they'll be higher. Rugesh agrees. They'll be higher. Rejveer agrees. Yeah. Yeah, generally speaking, they seem to always go up and up. Hikmatillo, an optimist, says they will be lower. Hey, what goes up must eventually come down, right? But it seems like for now, they just keep going up and up. So C is the correct answer. Okay. All right, students. So far, so good. Now we have part 4 remaining. We're going to listen to part 4. Once more, I will ask that you not write your answers into the chat. So again, give everybody a fair chance. It's the final part of the listening, part 4. And we're going to do it together. And then we will discuss the answers. In part 4, you do not have time between the audio to look at the information. So it's all one seamless audio. That's the more challenging part of part 4. Students, again, don't write your answers into the chat. Wait till the end. And turn up the volume or use a headset if it's quiet for you. I'm max on my side, okay? So here we go with part 4. I'm just going to do a stop-start on our... yeah, there we go. Okay, so bear with me. Here we go. Part 4, again, coming out of our website at aehelp.com.
Now turn to section 4. Take some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Listening section 4. You will hear a lecture about English scientist Isaac Newton. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Today we are going to discuss the life and achievements of the famous English scientist Sir Isaac Newton. Many consider Newton to be the most brilliant man to have ever lived, and many consider his achievements the greatest ever achieved by one man. Newton himself was not so sure, as he famously told his followers, "If I have seen further, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants." While it may be true that he built upon the foundation of scientists before him, he still managed to see further than anyone else had, and to this day his accomplishments stand the test of time. Isaac Newton was born in England in 1643. He studied at the King's School in Grantham from age 12 to 17. After leaving school, his mother tried to make him into a farmer, but that was not going to be sufficient for young Isaac. A year later, in 1661, on the recommendation of one of his teachers at the King's School in Grantham, Newton was admitted to Trinity College in Cambridge, where he eventually became a teacher 6 years later. Newton is perhaps most famous for his work on gravity. A well-known story says that Newton realized the nature of gravity while he was sitting under a tree and an apple fell on his head. This story may or may not be true, but the underlying principle is valuable. Newton made the astonishing discovery that the same force that makes an apple fall to the earth also makes the earth revolve around the sun and the moon revolve around the earth. Until this time, scientists such as René Descartes and Gottfried Leibniz had believed that the planets moved in some sort of matter, something they called an ether. Newton demonstrated that no such ether was required. Descartes and Leibniz also had little explanation for why apples fall to the earth. Newton's theory accounted for this almost perfectly. During the 20th century, Newton's theory came under attack by the German physicist Albert Einstein, whose theory of relativity was said to replace Newton's theory of gravitation. This is simply not true. Einstein's theory is a landmark achievement in science, but it did not replace Newton's theory, it merely improved it. To picture this, think of a smooth ball, perhaps a billiard ball. In this experiment of the mind, Newton tells us that the ball is smooth. However, Einstein says that the ball has small imperfections, dents, cuts, and scrapes. Who is right? The answer is both of them. Newton is correct on a macroscopic scale. When we look at the ball from a distance, the ball is smooth. However, Einstein is correct as well. The ball does have imperfections. He is correct on a macroscopic and a microscopic scale. Another of Newton's important achievements is the reflecting telescope. Previously, Galileo had used lenses to construct his telescope, but Newton was the first to use mirrors in a telescope. Today's telescopes are almost all made of mirrors as opposed to lenses, which again speaks to Newton's brilliance. There are a number of reasons the mirror is an improvement over the lens in telescopes. First, mirrors do not warp as easily as lenses do, and by that I mean that lenses can lose their shape in hot or cold weather quite easily. Second, telescopes with mirrors take up less space because of their shorter focal distance. Third, telescopes with mirrors can be built far larger because the mirrors themselves can be built larger. An achievement of Newton's that must not be overlooked is Newton's discovery of calculus. Although the discovery was not without controversy, Gottfried Leibniz also claims to have invented calculus at approximately the same time. Nobody really knows the truth, but it is accepted that they discovered it separately. In any case, it was a brilliant achievement by both scientists. Newton died in March 1727, and his body was laid to rest at Westminster Abbey in London, in a famous above-ground tomb. He was 84.
That is the end of section 4. You will now have half a minute to check your answers.
Okay, students, and again, check your answers in that time. Now here, of course, you will have another 10 minutes if you're doing the paper-based exam to transfer your answers to the answer sheet. So here we have a flowchart type question. Now with flowchart type questions, pay careful attention to information that helps you identify your location in the audio, like born in 1643. So when you hear this piece of information, you know that you have to really pay attention and start answering the questions. Okay? This will go in the order of the audio. Okay? So, Isaac Newton, born 1643, we heard that piece of information, studies at King's School in Grantham. So again, another piece of information that helps us identify where we are. From the age of when to when? So how old was Sir Isaac Newton when he studied at King's School in Grantham? So Quran says 12 to 17. So 12, we have the word to, so we don't need that in the answer sheet. 17. So in your answer sheet, you just need to put 12 and 17. That's enough, okay? So you'll get it correct with that answer. You don't need to put the 2 because it's there. 2 words and or a number. So if you write 12 to 17, you'll get it wrong. It's tricky, but everybody who's writing 12 to 17, you'll get it wrong because that's 3 pieces, and this is asking only 2. So always pay really close attention to the instructions. Your answer is correct, but you're not paying attention to the instructions if you write 2. Okay, so be really careful. Sometimes it's quite sneaky, the IELTS exam. Okay, and then leaves school, and his mother attempts to make him what? So 32. Many of you are saying Farmer, Madhu, Yura, Violet, Kamola. Farmer it is. Yeah. Isaac's mom wanted Isaac to grow some corn, tomatoes, take care of some cows, and that wasn't going to happen for Isaac. He had a little bit of a bigger vision in mind. All right, so 12 to 17, farmer, F-A-R-M-E-R, farmer. Okay, so again, the tip here is really when you're looking at this type of question, identify the words and the numbers that will help you to locate yourself in the audio. Okay, I'll write that tip down for you because that's quite important. All right, so tip number 4, especially in section or in part 4, that goes quite quickly. So in flowchart completion type questions, during the review time, identify words and numbers that help you to position yourself in the audio. Okay, like born in 1648, if I remember correctly. Okay, all right, keep that in mind. That will help you a lot. Okay, and then in 1661, on the recommendation of his teachers, Isaac is admitted to Trinity College in Cambridge. Again, that will help you locate. 6 years after starting, Newton becomes something there. What did he become? A teacher. Yeah, that was not too bad, right? Becomes a teacher. Okay, good. So he becomes a teacher. And yes, you can write all capital letters. That's okay as well. All right. Okay. Let's keep going. Now, questions 34 to 37. So here, you had to match the information to the correct person. Okay. It's definitely a good idea to know some general history, especially about these famous figures. It will help, okay? Even if you don't know too much about Galileo, Newton, Descartes, Leibniz. Descartes' French, Leibniz is German. Of course, Newton is British, Galileo, Italian, Einstein, Austrian. So different people from different countries. One piece of information that's good to know about these people is roughly when they lived, okay? So which one of these people lived the longest ago? So who lived the furthest back in time? Galileo, Newton, Descartes, Leibniz, or Einstein? Which one of these characters lived in the past? Does anybody know the most? Was it Galileo? I'll try to narrow it down for you. It definitely wasn't Einstein. Okay. Anybody knows which one of these guys was the furthest back in time? Hikmatilla says, I think Galileo, yeah. So I believe you're right. Galileo lived a long time ago. Same with Descartes, okay? So Descartes, probably second. Leibniz and Newton were actually very close. I believe Leibniz was a little bit older, but they lived during the same period. So the reason I say that is because if you know this much information, that can really, really help you to figure out the answers here, even without listening to the audio. So you'll see that logic is very, very useful in this situation. Okay? All right. So let's go to 34. Believed that planets move in an ether, some kind of a liquid substance. Who believed that the planets move in an ether? Definitely not Newton, right? Because Newton was the father of the theory of gravity, so definitely not Newton. Einstein, no way. He's born much later, so definitely not Einstein. So we only have either Galileo or Descartes and Leibniz. It was Leibniz and Descartes. Okay? Descartes was the first one to come up with that idea. So the correct answer for 34 is C. Okay? If you're able to narrow it down to these two, at least you have a 50-50, even if you didn't catch it. Okay? Newton believed in gravity. Einstein, of course, believed in gravity because Einstein is from the 19th and 20th century, right? So, okay, so that one was C. All right, developed a theory which was thought to replace the earlier theory of gravity. Okay, so theory of gravity is Newton. So this has to be, number 35 has to be someone that came after Newton. So there's only one here that came after Newton. It definitely wasn't Galileo. It wasn't Newton because Newton believed in gravity. It couldn't have been Descartes and Leibniz. So the only person left is Einstein. Okay, so it has to be D. Is everybody following the logic that I'm using to solve this? So yes, you have to have a little bit of background information certainly for this, but again, IELTS is not just testing your English, it's also testing your communication and your thinking, okay? So it has to be D here. All right? By deduction. So this is a process of deduction, right? All right, 36. In the experiment of the mind, it tells us that the billiard ball is smooth. Now here, hopefully for this question, for 36, you were following the audio, and the experiment of the mind was between Einstein and Newton. Okay? So it has to be one of these two guys. It has to be either Newton or Einstein. And the correct answer is B. Yeah, Newton. So Newton says that the billiard ball is smooth. Okay? But that's because we're looking at it from far away. Einstein says, hey, look at the ball from close. You can see that there's scrapes and dents and imperfections in the ball. So that's Einstein. Okay? So Einstein added to Newton's idea. Right? So C, D, B. The last one used not mirrors but lenses in the construction of the telescope. Last one, 37. Kamola says it's A, it's Galileo. Ivy Chanal agrees. Yeah, and here, of course, the tricky word is not. So not mirrors, but lenses. Okay? And that was Galileo. Galileo used lenses. Of course, there's those famous pictures and paintings of Galileo with his big lens telescopes. Right? So C, D, B, A. Okay. So far, so good. C, D, B, A. Okay, now we had a little bit of filling in the blanks type question. Again, 2 words and or a number. Always read the instructions. Telescopes with lenses cannot be built as large as telescopes with mirrors because large lenses tend to what? What happens to large lenses? There's 2 ways that you could answer number 38. There are 2 acceptable answers. Yeah, very good. Lose shape is one. So the speaker said lose shape. Yeah. And lose shape is just L-O-S-E, not loose, but lose, right? Elena, L-O-O-S-E is lose, or sorry, loose. This is lose, so it's just 1 O, okay? Not 2. Yura, same thing. If my belt is loose, so my pants are falling off because my pants are loose, then it's L-O-O-S-E, okay? But lose means like I lost my wallet, okay? All right, so telescopes with mirrors take up less space because of their reduced what? What is 39? What is 39? $39 is, Saminder Kaur says, focal distance. Very good. All right, good job. Focal distance. Excellent, yeah. So telescopes with mirrors take up less space because of their reduced focal distance. You don't need to have as much distance between the mirrors. Sure. Okay, so lose shape, focal distance. Another answer for 38 could have been warp. Okay, W-A-R-P. So lenses tend to warp. Warp is the single word that means lose shape. So lose shape and warp are the same. Okay, so for 38, that would have been okay as well. All right. Now, question 40. Which statement is true? Newton and Leibniz discovered calculus together, meaning they're like, hey, high five, we did it. High five. Good job, we did it. Newton and Leibniz discovered calculus separately during the same time period. I discovered it. Hey, hey. Okay, or Newton and Leibniz discovered calculus separately while working at the same university. I don't think so, right? That would have been tough to believe. The correct answer is B, at the same time separately. That's why there was an argument of who did it first. So B is the correct answer there. Okay, students, add up your marks. If you were here for yesterday's class, then add yesterday's marks as well. What did you get out of 40? So what was your band score from 40 total? Okay, add up today's and yesterday's marks. And then what you can do is you can go to our website, and I'll darken the screen here a little bit so you can see what I'm doing, because our website obviously has brighter colors. So we'll do that. All right, Mudhoo says 27 out of 40. So at the bottom of our website here, and we have this in our app as well, you will find the score calculator that I just clicked on. And then let's check the listening, not the reading. So if you put 27 in there, then Mudhoo, you got 6.5 for that one. Okay. If you got 35 like Hikmatillo or a couple other students, then you got a band 8. I believe that's where band 8s start, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe not. Okay. Let's see. We have a 24 there. Who was that had the 24? We'll check that. 24 is a band 6. Okay. Derek says 13 out of 20 for today. That's not bad, Dark. 13 out of 20 for parts 3 and 4 is quite good. Okay. All right. Karan says 30 out of 40. 30 out of 40 is a band 7. So you can check that out on our website. And again, students, you can click those big red buttons to join the premium package. And then if you're joining today, you can use the code R4TYJ to get a 20% discount. And that will give you access to 6 full practice exams, over 100 hours of video lessons with HD quality. Also an app so that you can comfortably use it on your phone, as well as a fully interactive course that takes about 60 hours to complete with questions and quizzes. So quite worth spending a couple dollars and saving yourself lots of time and headache with the exam. We have hundreds, if not thousands, of students daily who are successful on IELTS after they go through our courses. So make sure to try them when you have the time. Tomorrow, students, I will host a question and answer session for YouTube channel members, and then that will be followed by speaking part 3, practice and strategy for everyone. Okay. Akib, you got 32. Go to the website, Akib, aehelp.com. Check it out. The score calculator link is at the bottom. Okay, Akib? Just go to either one, general, glshelp.com or ahelp.com for academic. Students, that's it for today. Have an awesome rest of your day. If it's late in your country, then I hope you get some good rest, a good night's sleep. Much love to all of you from Budapest. Bye for now. Hopefully see you tomorrow.